Cutback for Vasilev, and Lukić! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen now to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal in his Union debut? The record signing, off and running in his first appearance for the club.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. Yes, this is live. Yes, I am back after missing last week's show. I guess technically the last two shows. But regardless, we are live recapping last night's 0-0 result against Nashville SC. Philadelphia Union have yet to win a game at Subaru Park this season in MLS. But last night, in my opinion, wasn't that bad of a match. So Jose Nunez is live with me, as you guys can see on the screen, watching live. We'll get into that game. A whole bunch of thoughts from that game. I know a tweet of Mr. Nunez's went a little bit viral on social media, and we've got to talk about that. And yeah, we got some news finally to talk about, and maybe not. We'll get to Blunder of the Week. We'll see. But anyway, Jose, good to see you. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I apologize to everybody that had to listen to last week's shows or last week's, I guess shows, right? Because it was a me show to On the Bounds. So glad you're back. I don't envy you and what you have to do, and certainly what friends across the Philadelphia press group do in terms of being hosts. It's not easy. I give you guys a lot of credit. So glad to be here. I think you're far more optimistic maybe than I am about last night's game, and that's okay. But if you look beyond Philadelphia, what a weekend of soccer in terms of, if you're a neutral for a lot of these games. That Cincinnati-Chicago game was incredible. There were some other really, really good games happening over that match day too. The Miami game against Orlando, coming back from 3 down to win 4-3 at Messi's home. Just a lot of really good soccer, but it's all Philadelphia. Probably a lot to sort of dissect from a match where, I don't know, this is the negative side of me coming through, but against second and third string players, for what it's worth. So really interesting conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I won't get too far into it because we do have some news to talk about. I don't even know if I told you we're going to talk about this, Jose, but yeah, I do want to bring it up real quick. Just one bit of news. I don't know how much you want to talk about it. Again, I did not tell Jose what we were going to talk about. So spoiler alert, this is probably going to catch him by surprise. Unless you guys read the RSS feed, then you guys saw what the topics were before Jose did. So with that said, let's get straight into the news. All right, so we got some news from MLS Thursday, I believe it was. Friday it was, maybe. Big news coming out about MLS NEXT Pro. MLS announced that them and KKR, a leading global investment firm, announced a strategic investment to accelerate the growth of MLS NEXT Pro. Jose, this is a big deal. This is a league that I'll be honest, I'm surprised, 5 seasons in, they're still around. I did not expect MLS NEXT Pro to still be going. It was MLS's, I guess, approach of competing against the USL Championship and trying to become a second division league with their second teams. And yeah, a lot of different approaches from teams across the league, how they approach MLS NEXT Pro. We know the Philadelphia Union use it as a league to pretty much play their academy players. I think at one point, Jose, we started seeing the Union sign a lot of Venezuelans, a lot of different South Americans to try to make it look a little bit more professional. And now this season, if you watch Union 2, it's mostly academy kids playing in that second team. I know the big talk is what New York Red Bulls are doing this season in MLS. A lot of the players on the first team are former Red Bulls 2 players. And then you got teams that are playing 39-year-old, 40-year-old goalkeepers. You got some teams that have no affiliation to MLS teams whatsoever. And yeah, it's a league that you and I haven't been the highest on, Jose. We're people that don't beat around the bush. We've talked about so many players, Jose, on the Union that could benefit playing at a higher level. And I was actually having this conversation last night, waiting in the mix zone for the players to come out to speak with the media with Jillian Almany. And I brought up the point with Marcus Anderson and CJ Olney. Look what they're doing with Brooklyn and USL. Playing with Union 2 and MLS NEXT Pro, that league wasn't going to do anything for their development. We see Andrew Rick today play with Union 2, needing game time. Andre Blake's played he's played a while. I don't think Andrew Rick's played in MLS since CONCACAF Champions Cup. So Andrew Rick had to get some game time. They play him today against Red Bull 2 and NEXT Pro. But the point of Marcus Anderson and CJ Olney, I don't think they're MLS quality players yet, Jose. Maybe one day they can get there, but they certainly had graduated, as you like to say, MLS NEXT Pro. And now we see them playing in USL with Brooklyn. And it seems like they found their level, Jose. It seems like, that they're finding success under former Union 2 head coach Marlon LeBlanc. They're starting every single week. They're assisting each other. They're scoring goals. And again, this is what I think is good for a lot of these players coming out of the academy for the Union, playing at a higher level than what MLS NEXT Pro is. And now you have KKR coming in here with MLS and investing. I think I saw Sportico say between $150 to $200 million into this league, trying to make it more of a professional league. But yeah, I'm shocked, Jose, that MLS NEXT Pro is still around in the 4th or 5th season now.
Was it just last year? Sorry, I was muted for a second. Was it just last year that Neil Pierre, whatever it was, season 4 or whatever, like that was the first year that they introduced Defensive Player of the Year? So kind of a goofy thing to not have that from the get-go. But it's I think you nailed it in that it's really interesting how different teams have leveraged this type of competition, this type of level per se, where I think that the Union maybe go about it as best as they can, though I would argue that they sort of leave players there beyond giving them an opportunity to go elsewhere. It almost felt like, and I don't know enough about behind the scenes, but the CJ Olney and Marcus Anderson, right, to go into USL and be loaned out. And obviously CJ, this is his second go at it since Lexington did not work out as well as I think many probably had wanted it to, including the player himself. I'm intrigued. And this is as someone who I can't recall exactly what the investment really means, but I'm intrigued to see what the changes are that they're going to implement. Obviously, it's also a playground for MLS proper to try things, right? In terms of they have the goalkeeper stuff in terms of like, I don't know, like the weird shootout thing that they do at MLS All-Star, or I guess MLS NEXT Pro All-Star. But even when you think about the rules, right, in terms of every single game, no ties really, you go into a penalty shootout. Like they're trying and testing different things within it. Same on the technology side. If I recall, I think that's when they introduced and were testing out AI commentators, if I recall correctly, or maybe it was MLS Next. But either way, I'm really intrigued to see what this means for a team that likes to keep it in-house versus, I don't know, I can imagine that. And I think I recall seeing bits and pieces of the article talking about teams that are really going to sort of go into this, like New York City FC, 2, I believe, was one of the teams that they mentioned. Chattanooga, which is another really interesting team in just being its own entity. Intrigued. It's fun to put and watch. I mean, I watched 85 minutes before I had to jet out of the Union 2 game today. And it's just kind of fun background stuff to listen to and pay attention, especially when first team players need to get minutes. But I would much rather those players go elsewhere. It's certainly not the best level or the highest level.
Yeah, it's not. And, Ryan Richter had talked with Jillian Almany, I think, prior to the Red Bull match, and had said that this is something that clubs knew was coming for a little bit. And I don't know about you, Jose, I don't want to speak for you, but I always thought it was odd when we would see multiple teams that had no affiliation with MLS teams whatsoever invest in a third division league. And I'm like, why are you spending all this money in a league that who knows if it's going to be around in a couple seasons? And we saw Connecticut be the latest team to kickstart their season this year. And I know they've got a result against Union 2 this season. Union 2 had picked up a result away against them. But I always thought it was odd that why would these teams want to invest in MLS Next Pro, where isn't the goal to play at MLS? MLS is the highest level, and maybe some of these teams do have aspirations one day to, hey, we're opening up a spot in MLS, and we see you're being successful in MLS Next Pro. You're drawing thousands of fans. What about an opportunity to maybe play you in a higher market? I don't know. Maybe that's the thinking of some of these clubs, but I think if it is, it's maybe a little bit far-fetched because, let's face it, Jose, MLS isn't going to want to have a team in the top division in Connecticut. But maybe one day, who knows what the future looks like of the sport. But I do think that it's never great when private equity gets involved in these sort of things because, right, they're investing millions and millions of dollars, and what's at stake for them? What's their end goal? They're not just giving money just to give money. They obviously want something. And so, yeah, I am curious to see exactly what that looks like with KKR investing. Like I said, Sportico is projecting around $150 to $200 million in terms of cash and equity across this partnership. So, yeah, we'll see what the future looks like with MLS Next Pro going forward. Again, a little bit shocked myself seeing that, yeah, this was a big investment into a league that doesn't draw a lot of fans in most of these markets, Jose. Doesn't have this giant marketing deal like MLS does, because, correct me if I'm wrong, last season the games were on Apple TV. Now this year they're just on YouTube, and then there's another one I think too that
one football.
Yeah, one football. So it's I don't know. It's strange. It's strange looking to see what the future of this league could look like. Obviously, there's something there if you have a private equity firm coming in here investing all this type of money. But at the end of the day, I question what's at stake for them. What do they see as the end goal?
One thing I'm sort of wondering, what can $100 to $150 million actually accomplish? That's what I'm really curious about, right? Like, to you and I, that's obviously significant money, by all means, but that's far less than the price of one MLS franchise in terms of, like San Diego paid like $500 million last go around when they joined the league. I think it was an incredible amount. The Union, I think, paid
100.
Was it
maybe?
Still?
Was it less?
Yeah,
than
I think
100?
it was $100 million or something like
Let's look
that.
it up.
I could be wrong. You can Google that or Gemini it or whatever it's going to force you to do. But I don't know what that type of money gives you.
30 million.
30 million. Okay. Very different worlds, right? So you go from the Philadelphia Union to San Diego, that type of money is just obscene in how much it's grown. I don't know. I don't know what $100, $150 million does for that league. Is it to improve infrastructure? I mean, I having watched the Union 2 game today, there were about 6 or 7 breakups of stream because they had technical difficulties. And including one genuinely, not even kidding, I laughed out loud. right before Stas Korzanowski scored. Like literally, it went into technical difficulties, and then as soon as they came back, he was celebrating. It was comical. It was like straight out of a comedy movie or something like that. So, is it to improve that? Is it to improve marketing? Is it so? I mean, and I don't know. Teams are not even allowed to really market themselves or whatever. Like I think about the Union too. Can't buy their jerseys. That would be the easiest way to market them. When I've asked the Union in the past, it's very much, or the line I keep on being told is, it's not up to us. Then who is it up to that you can't sell these jerseys? And I'm not asking for FC Cincinnati prices, because I think their FC Cincinnati 2 jerseys are between $100, $150. Like, you're out of your mind if you think someone should pay that type of money for a second team jersey, no matter how cool it is. I'm really genuinely intrigued onto what does this mean with that type of money? How does this improve, and how do they go about spending it?
Yeah, I agree. So something to keep an eye on, what the future of MLS Next Pro looks like. Again, I mean, you're investing that type of money. I would imagine they want to become more professional than what the league currently is. But speaking of professional, I thought last night was a professional performance from the Philadelphia Union. I get it, Jose. The Union played against a heavily rotated Nashville side that was just coming off of a 1-0 loss to Tigres in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I know Nashville have an upcoming match on May 5th against Tigres down in Mexico. So, yeah, it was always going to be the case of BJ Callahan rotating his squad. We saw the likes of Hani Mukhtar come off the bench. We saw Andy Nahara come off the bench, Espinoza come off the bench. These are big-time players for Nashville, Jose, that did not start the match. And Nashville actually had the first chance in this match. And the Union, they get fortunate that Pacius botches a chance in the 5th minute, right? The Union send in a cross, I believe it was, or was it a corner kick that gets cleared away? And then Nashville go and hit on the corner kick, and they get very, very fortunate that the shot just goes wide. It gets, I mean, it's a terrible shot from the floor forward that should have been putting that chance on target. And credit to the Union defensively for getting back and closing down the chance. But Nashville could have made things very interesting in this game, 5 minutes in, Jose, going up 1-0, which I guess wouldn't have been shocking to see the Union concede, because they've done it first throughout the season, most of the games this year. And we'll get into that a little bit later. I know they haven't really done that so much as of late, but things could have been very different, Jose, in this match 5 minutes in, if they would have conceded.
Yeah, I was genuinely shocked that Pacius, however you pronounce his name, he even had that pass across from his body, and sure, he would have had to slot it between two players that were chasing him, but nonetheless, he had a wide open player. I don't remember who, but they had a wide open player there for the picking. But the reality is, the Union very fortunate, because that Hani Mukhtar and an Espinoza having that type of runway to go and score off of the turnover, which I think was a cross by Nate Harrell, actually, if I'm putting it all together.
Yeah, I just watched it. It was across from Nate. Yeah.
Yeah. That's 1-0 5 minutes in. And, typically, and then your question at the end of the game in the press conference is completely inaccurate, right? In terms of you not getting scored on in the first half, never mind within the first 10 minutes. Yeah, Union very fortunate. And would they have conceded there? What is the emotion from those guys, right? And Carnell continues to talk about, and I'm sure you're going to have clips, maybe the one I'm thinking, but talking about, feeling bad for the guys, because they're doing everything they can, but ball's just not bouncing in, considering what we saw in terms of shots hitting the post, skying the ball by whatever it was, like a couple of feet when it could have gone top bins, just really tough luck that these guys are in, but the Union very well could have been down 1-0 5 minutes in.
They could have, and you mentioned it. It was hitting the post not once but twice in this game, with Indiana Vassilev and Anello both in the second half. Schwake, the goalkeeper for Nashville, makes 4 good saves in this match, and I think the chance that probably should have got converted was Jovan Lukic's in the first half, where he gets fortunate, right? Jose, he tries to play a ball into Alado, and it gets deflected right back into him. And now he's there 1-on-1. And you've gotta at least put that shot on target. And he blasted over the bar. And that's one right there where, look, I get it. Jovan's not known as a goal scorer, but when you get that opportunity, when you get gift, when you get fortunate luck going your way, how many times have we heard Jim Curtin say in the past, Jose, where, yeah, the luck's just not going our way. The luck's not going our way. And I know Curtin's not the head coach now, but this is a moment where the luck totally went the Union's way, where it's probably not the smartest pass from Lukić when there's a whole bunch of traffic in front of him around Alado, and then he gets the ball right back. It's a lot of luck going your way, and you've got to put that chance on target, and he simply doesn't. It's a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah, I'm watching this play again, and this is very much an example of the ball bouncing your way up until like having 95% of the task done. And in watching this replay, I can see how Lukić had a hard time pushing that in, right? Meaning towards net or making the goalkeeper make a save, because he's got two guys. Actually, I take it back. They weren't really that close to him. Like, he was just leaning back. So I thought, and again, and sort of reviewing in my head without looking at this clip, I thought that Lukić was being pulled or tugged or something. He was clear open and he just leans back, reaching for the ball. That should have been a goal. No excuses there. As silly _Jilly says in the chat, that Lukić will want that one back. That is very much what you're saying.
And I don't know how far your clip goes back to see that, Jose, but this is the type of play that Bradley Cornell's been hammering for. It's you hit them on the transition, and the Union win the ball back with Nathan Harriel, and he does well to keep it in play. Goes into Milan, into Cavan. The ball eventually comes back out to Cavan, and Cavan does well just to slow down the play. And the Union, they don't force anything. They reset the play, find the space, and Jovan has a lot of space to run into the midfield. But yeah, this is what I think Cornell gets so frustrated by, Jose. It's like they have moments, and we saw it against Columbus last week. And you and Jillian talked about that game tremendously. I thought you guys broke it down really good last week. And there was moments when the Union had dispossessed Columbus, and we've seen it in other games this season. They dispossess, they win the ball back, but they can't put the ball on target. And it continues to be an issue, right? Not finishing off the chances. You hit the post twice, and yes, we talk about luck going your way with Jovan Lukić, and then you have two moments where luck maybe doesn't go your way. You're hitting the post, and it's been multiple times this season hitting the post. DC United a couple weeks ago, 0-0. Sean Johnson also made multiple good saves in that match. But you've got to take your chances. We've saw it in the playoffs too so many times, Jose, and I know we're nowhere close to playoffs. This team's not a playoff team, but you don't get many chances to score in games. And when you do get the opportunities, you've got to take advantage of them. And the Union, for maybe as unfortunate as they are, they just cannot find the back of the net. And what's maybe even more surprising, Jose, I don't know if you knew this or if you were really paying attention to it. I'm sure you do know it. 5 games in, only 2 goals at Subaru Park. 2 goals at Subaru Park. One of those being a penalty kick from Indiana Vasilov against New York City. The other being a set piece with Milan Olaski scoring the header. No goals from open play for the Union at Subaru Park.
And that's their bread and butter, right? In terms of set pieces, and to only have that many goals at home, where, you know, however many years of hearing the question from our friend of the show, giant in the press room in terms of questioning and asking questions, David Melandra, but, you know, defending home field, defending the home base, etc. Like, it's interesting that it's come to this as of late. And I think Mike tried his best. I know you mentioned it too, you know, like the Union are undefeated in, 5 games or whatever the stretch is. And I remember, you remember this from Curtin one time? Yeah, okay. You remember from Curtin him talking about, like, it's all about semantics. Like, we're undefeated in 5 or we're winless in 5. So like, yeah, it's like, yeah, that's very true. And what's even worse, man, it's like they haven't won at Subaru Park since February 26th against Defense Force. That's the last time they've won at Subaru Park, which is an unbelievable thing to think, considering that 2022 season, 2023, 2024, obviously very different situation. 2025, incredible year of sort of keeping up with that, winning your home games, tying or sneaking away with, all 3 points on the road. But this year, just, I know we're a third through the league year. Just really bizarre that it's that home field has become this. It's I don't know. Like, are teams even afraid to come to Subaru Park nowadays? I'm not sure. Genuinely, I genuinely do not know.
No. And I think Curtin talked about that in 2024 when they were going through that horrible form where he said, yeah, teams don't fear coming into Subaru Park. And I think maybe that changed a little bit last year, seeing that they had only lost 1 game at home. And they led the league, I think, with 12 wins it was in MLS regular season. But I'm pulling it up here, Jose. The last win in MLS was the Supporter Shield clinching victory, 1-0. Mikael Uhre scoring the only goal in that match against New York City. But they drew against Chicago, 2-2, won on penalty kicks. You lose to New York City 1-0 in the playoffs in the conference semifinals. Against New England Revolution, you also score 1 goal in that match back in September. There hasn't been a lot of scoring from this team at home since August of last year against Chicago Fire, 4-0. New England, they win 1-0. Believe Damiani scored that goal. Against New York City, they win 1-0. But then 2-2 draw. You win on penalties against Chicago Fire. Then you lose to New York City 1-0 in the semifinals. And yeah, yet to pick up a win, only 2 goals at Subaru Park this season. It's strange. After seeing this team for years, just score for fun, it seemed like, especially that front 3 of Gazdag, Uhre, and Carranza. And I know we're years past that moment of that trio, but yeah, it just seems so strange. Like last year, going to the stadium, it's like, yeah, I could see a win at Subaru Park, but I don't really get that sense this year. And I don't know, maybe last year too, I kind of felt a little uncomfortable just watching them not play the best. And I guess it doesn't matter. You don't have to play a complete game as long as you find ways to get the results. And Cornell's even talked about it this year, saying, I don't care who scores the goals as long as we score the goals. But the problem is, they're not really scoring the goals, are they, Jose? They're not.
No, they're not. And they're not. And the reality is that they're not even coming close in some of these chances, right? And what were the ratios, Todd, from Carnell's opening press conference in terms of open play versus set piece versus whatever the other option was that he envisioned his play style?
It was 60-30-10. Was
okay?
Does that sound about
60 being what, the counter?
Play.
I think.
Yeah, open play.
Yeah, they're woeful at set pieces right now. When I think you and I were hopeful, but sort of expected a dramatic drop off, but not as dramatic as this. Like the set pieces are piss poor, and and to have one of the best coaches in set pieces, and Frank Leich, just an unbelievable mind putting these things together, that they just don't have someone to execute, unfortunately. But I never expected them to be this bad. I haven't talked to the guy, but I would think that Milan Olowski knows how poor they've been when he takes them specifically, right? He can't even get the ball can't clear the first guy, unfortunately, most of the time when he's been taking them. And when it does, it's really far away from the net or not even remotely close to a player. So like, obviously it's just a complete mess. I'm so confused onto like, again, like totally knew that there was going to be a drop off once Kai left. As soon as I remember texting you saying, hey, can you proofread with you with New Year's Eve, I texted you with the Kai news, and I said to you, if I recall correctly, this is massive, A, and B, there's going to be a drop off in goal scoring. And you and I agreed in that instant. I did not think it would be this dramatic, to be completely honest with you. So it's fascinating.
And Cole brings up a good point too, Jose. Since Quinn's got hurt too, Quinn was a big part of chance creation, taking players on 1v1. We saw it last night with Cavan Sullivan taking players on. Finally, somebody having the balls to take players on 1v1. And he looked good, and we'll talk about Cavan Sullivan here in a bit. But yeah, I think that's a big part of it too. And what does this team look like once Quinn comes back? I think, last week, Quinn Sullivan was pictured running or having his cleats on. So he's getting closer to potentially coming back to this team. But again, I don't want to put all this pressure on him. I don't want to put too much expectations on a player that's fresh off of a ACL injury. And we know the surgery is a lot different than what it used to be. And yeah, it's never ideal to tear your ACL, but it's not career-threatening like it once was. Will Quinn Sullivan be the same player that he once was? We'll see. But the chances of that happening are higher than what they would have been in years past with their surgery. But not having Kai, nothing you can do with that. You sell the player. You get Quinn back at some point this season. But will it be too little too late for this club to make a difference with Quinn coming back? We'll see. But I do think Quinn being out hurts his team very, very badly as well.
You know, last night we were talking with Mike and Ben Besher on AAT Sports post-game show. And one thing that I brought up is that, at least in my opinion, and from hearing from other people, I think maybe you've heard the same, but the union tried very hard to not necessarily come up with, equal, if not better pieces to the players that they lost, but obviously pieces that they can develop and work on to try to match the players that departed, the Glesnesses of the world. I'm not even going to say Kai because that's impossible. Perhaps the best left back to ever play in this league, if not tied with Inter Miami's. The name's escaping me right now, from a couple of years ago, a year or so ago, Barcelona guy, already escaping me, Spaniard. But then, over the years, Leon, thank you, Alba, Leon Flock, and this is over a couple of years, right? Jordi Alba, thank you. The union did their best to bring in players that can match and work with the union to kind of get to that level. But I feel like the one player that they just could not find a fix for is Quinn Sullivan. And I wonder if the idea was that Cavan was going to be that player in a way, or is it more we don't want to bring someone in? And again, I'm totally speculating, which I shouldn't. So I should probably bite my tongue a little bit, but was it to not upset Quinn in his recovery, right? Saying, oh, now he has a competitor to go up against once he comes back, right? Like, I don't know what the circumstances were. I know that in terms of scouting, in terms of negotiating, in terms of everything that deals on the back end, the union are always working on the next level, the next player, who's going to come in next, who's going to come next, as they think about the pipeline. Also, obviously, examining and dissecting who's there already. But I don't think that they actually fully recovered from what it has become to not have a Quinn Sullivan on the field. I'm not sure if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair. I think it's a fair point. This team, I think they're going to be active, Jose, in the summertime. Yes, I know we've talked about players that could potentially depart, but I think this team, regardless, if they continue to struggle or not, I think they're still going to go out there and try to bring in players to light a spark, and maybe some of these players that they brought in will eventually light a spark. And again, maybe it is too much pressure on a lot of these guys to replace the outgoing players. I mean, to replace a like of Kai Wagner, you're never going to do that. To replace a goal-scoring threat that Ty Vribo is pretty difficult to do. I know Damiani and Alado have yet to score a goal this season. Your two highest paid players, you expect them to get goals, haven't really contributed. Maybe eventually they do contribute, but you're just not getting that contribution right now from those players. But I do, before we talk about Cavan Sullivan, I do want to play this clip with Bradley Cornell, and then I want to talk about Geiner Martínez here in a second. But I'm sure we'll probably find ways to bring up negative moments throughout the rest of the show. But for me, again, I talked about it a little bit. I said at the beginning of the show, yes, I do know it's a heavily rotated squad, Nashville team. Bradley Cornell knows that. He made it a point to say, yeah, I get it. It's a rotated Nashville team. And that's exactly why I brought it up. It's like, okay, look, yeah, it matters, but in a sense, I feel like it doesn't matter because it's in your last 5 games, Jose, the Union haven't conceded in, what was the number? I think it said three out of the last 4 games now, I think, in the first half. Four out of the last 5 games in the first half. They haven't conceded a goal in the first half. And when we look at the beginning of the season, 6 out of the first 7 games, they conceded goals in the first half. And it doesn't matter if it's Curtin, doesn't matter if it's Cornell. Both managers have said, we are a team built not to play from behind. That's exactly the way this team's constructed. It's a team that wants to break you down with their press and then hit you in transition moments. Union have got their transition moments multiple times this season, just haven't capitalized on those moments. But I do see a positive, Jose, regardless of a rotated squad or not. I do see a positive going into halftime, having the game be leveled, or maybe, if you're lucky, you go into the half up, just like we saw against Toronto. And unfortunately, you blow a 2-goal lead, look like you're going to win, and then, again, goalkeeper scores a goal, a crazy, crazy goal that for sure defines the 2026 Philadelphia Union season. But there's enough positives for me, and especially defensively. And so I had asked Bradley Cornell last night what he has seen from his group defensively, specifically in the first half, for why they've stopped conceding goals. And this is what Bradley Cornell had to say.
Well, mentality, right? Moments, momentum, and also structure a little bit. You know, I think, getting disconnected from each other as a group, whether it's the 9s or the 10s, and then the 6s, and then the back line. You know, where are we? How are we connected? Whether that's vertically or laterally, and giving up spaces and gaps. You know, and it's a tough job for the center backs to shift and release and what have you. But that's part of the job, and the 6s as well. And I thought Jovan was excellent with Danley in there tonight as well. So, like I said, it looked and felt a little bit like us again. But we have to take this away. You know, not as a down. We feel like against the best team in the league, we had a really good performance, kept them to hardly anything. And I know they're mixed up in between schedules right now with games coming up, but they're still a very good outfit. So yeah, credit to our guys, and we'll use this to build definitely. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's better.
Yeah, and I mean, he's spot on. It's not perfect. It's not perfect soccer, but in my opinion, it's starting to look better than what the first 7 games were of the season. And you hear him admit it, saying, I know they're in between CONCACAF Champions Cup and MLS. It's a rotated squad. We get it. But the truth is, Jose, right? In the second half, we did see Hani Mukhtar, Christian Espinosa, Nahari come on. And Nashville did start to get a little bit more chances, grow into this game. Both Hani Mukhtar and Espinosa were causing issues for the Union on the right side of the field, left side for the Union. But Andre Blake made a save that he was supposed to make, made 2 saves. Union kept the ball out of the back of the net. They still created chances against Nashville when their best players came off the bench. And so for me, Cornell talks about mentality. It does seem a little bit different than maybe it was at the beginning of the season. I don't know how you feel, but I can see the slight positives. I can see things changing a little bit with this team. It's not perfect, like Cornell said. I can admit that. But it does seem a little bit different, Jose.
to be completely blunt with you, I think one thing for us to remember, and for folks in the chat who are already chiming in, that yes, the Union are last place in the East, and they just drew a hoagie against the best team in the East. Totally acknowledge that. Let's not act like the bar was very high in terms of improving, right? We watched some matches that were piss poor from the Union, both in terms of CONCACAF Champions Cup, and sure they play Club America, which is obviously a storied club, probably at the lowest that they've been in many, many years in terms of form. I was genuinely expecting for Hani and Espinosa to flip that game upside down and make that a 2-0 game, right? With those last 30 odd minutes that they went in. And the Union obviously did pull it together in terms of not getting scored on. So I agree with you with the positives and something to build on, as Cornell put it best. But you know, it's almost like, yeah, I think that's awesome, but you know, the bar wasn't high, right? They've let that bar fall so far down that, you know, I just want to be very, very cognizant of the fact that that bar was not high. And the Union are just, you know, sort of correcting. I mean, some of those losses that the Union have this year are just, in the way that they've lost, right? Like the Columbus loss was not great, not bad. My gosh, I'm looking at something. I don't know what, I don't want to be too picky on what that San Jose loss was obviously awful. Yes, a decent team. Atlanta was really, really bad too. So like, again, some really, really not great teams. And I know San Jose is flipped that roster upside down.
One of the best teams in all of MLS. And I would also argue too, look, I was pretty pissed off about the DC United 0-0 draw.
Yes.
But let's look at DC United now, Jose. 9 goals in their last 3 matches. They beat New York City last night. Who did they play before DC against New York City? New York Red Bulls, maybe? Did they play Red? Yeah, it was New York Red Bulls. Ty Baribo, or they tied against New York Red Bulls 4-4. It was Orlando that beat 3-2. 9 goals in the last 3 games. Is that pretty good, Jose? Like, did the Union know something we didn't? That DC United was going to go on this crazy goal-scoring run, and they held them scoreless, and I get it. I know DC United came into Subaru Park with a game plan to park the bus, sit deep. They executed that flawlessly, kept the Union off the goal sheet. But at the same time, too, right? Union did hold a clean sheet against a team that's scoring for fun. I didn't know DC United had it in them, and here they are, winning back-to-back games, undefeated in the last 4 games as well. But, yeah, this is a team that, I didn't really think was all that good, and maybe they are, Jose. So maybe that is a good result against DC United, getting a point.
I feel like it's tough to look at it that way because of the story against DC United over the last couple of years, right? Where it was like clockwork, a 6-0, a 5-0, a 3-0, and it has felt like, and I think you and I talked about it, and maybe at the time we were agreeing, and obviously the season has continued to evolve, and teams are maybe finally taking shape on what they truly are. Obviously the Union want to, and will hope that this is continuing to take shape, because obviously they don't want to be in 15th place in the Eastern Conference, basement dwellers with Sporting Kansas City in the overall standings of both conferences. But like, it's that early run of the schedule on paper. And again, you don't play the games on paper, and you certainly don't want to look at them through the lens of the last year, the last 2 years. That should have been such a nice stretch for the Union to collect 15 points, right? Maybe 20 odd points. And of course they didn't. So, I kudos to all the teams that beat the Union. Kudos to the teams that have gotten hot and have gotten players like Baribo, who goes in these hot streaks. I wonder how cold he gets when he gets cold. Obviously, he, hate to say ghosted, but like was a ghost for the later stages of the season last year. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah.
Was last night better? Yes. But this is a team recovering from losing at Columbus, a team recovering from giving up the 3rd ever goalie goal in league history. So again, the bar was not very high, and I hate to be the negative Nancy about it all, but I think it's just a perspective that needs to be sort of thought about as you think about the whole body of work of 1/3 of the season.
And it's fair. It's totally fair. Let's go ahead and quickly talk about Geiner Martínez. Comes in for the injured Japhet Sery. Injured his shoulder last night in a challenge with who was it with? Passius. I'm saying his name wrong. Passius, no, it is Passius. With Passius, and Cornell had actually told us that he actually injured that shoulder with Chiari against Columbus Crew the previous week, where he gets sent off for that red card, deny of a goal scoring opportunity. Gave credit to Pro for saying, "Hey, look, we're rescinding this red card. Was not sending off. We got that wrong." And then 15 minutes into the game, first challenge he goes into with the striker shoulder challenge, and he has to go and be sent off. And you and I think maybe Jose
substituted. Yeah, I think you want to say substituted.
Yeah, not sent off. Yeah, substituted because he was injured. And I think you and I, Jose, maybe we're a little bit nervous seeing Geiner Martínez enter into this match. But is it telling, Jose, that Cornell decided, look, Martínez is going to be the substitute and not Ndinga at left back, moving Nathan Harriel inside center? I think maybe that's a little bit telling that he opted for the natural center back, leaving Nathan Harriel out at left back. We heard after the game, Cornell said the reason that we played Nate at the left back is we weren't sure if Espinoza was going to start on the left or not. We put on the right, sorry. And so we put a natural defender in Nathan Harriel 1v1 in case Espinoza would be in there. But Espinoza doesn't start this game, Jose. And so Cornell, if he wanted to, he had every opportunity to go ahead and move Nathan inside with Macania once Sery has to leave the match due to injury. But he goes for Martínez, who had a really, 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 really strong showing, in my opinion, Jose. Best performance of the year from him.
Yeah. I wonder if the decision to bring him in was also to make good to the fact that gameplay wise, or game plan wise, I should say, as Cornell told us in the press conference after the fact, was that all along he was intended to be the starter, and the way that they were shaping up in terms of practicing. And was it midday Thursday that we got the news came out that the red card was rescinded? I believe it was midday Thursday, or was it Wednesday?
I think it was Thursday.
Yeah. I wonder if Cornell was making good for it, right? I think he commended him for being a professional, that once the decision came out that, he was totally fine. He said, and apparently understood his role, understood what the situation was. And the union are, as it stands and continues to evolve, as it stands, a better team with Sery Larson, apparently at center back. But I thought Geiner was totally serviceable. I think he is and what I've seen of the guy and heard from people within that building about the guy, he is a freak of nature when it comes to like his physical ability. He's such a big, muscular dude that he can just be a very physical center back. I think there were a couple of moments during the game where I think I saw him more or less try to pull off basketball moves in terms of setting up picks, or just using his body to block players as they're running by or whatnot. So I found that a little amusing, but I thought he was totally serviceable, especially for a player being tossed against, yes, the second and maybe third string of the best team in the Eastern Conference, if not. Are they the best team in MLS right now, actually, standing wise?
Nashville?
I can't recall. Yeah.
It should be San Jose. Let's look it up. It should be San Jose.
Yeah, it's probably close. Yeah, matches played, San Jose 9-1. Yeah, it's San Jose. So up there, a very good Nashville team, despite of who's in there. Far deeper than the Union were in 2025, I would think, this year specifically. So good for him. I'm happy for Geiner. I think from what I saw from the defense force, did he come in for Club America?
Yeah,
one of the Club America games? Yeah, he did. Yeah. Yes, because that came up during the pre-match press conference, I recall. I wasn't overly impressed, but this was a totally fine performance. So good for him to get that under his belt.
Yeah, 100%. So we definitely could have spent more time talking about Geiner Martínez. I apologize, Geiner, if you're listening to the podcast. I know you follow the podcast on Instagram, so you're probably listening. So we'll give you more due in a future episode, Geiner, I promise. But let's go ahead and talk about what I named the show title: Frankie Westfield and Cavan Sullivan shining in a 0-0 draw. By far the two best players on the field for the Philadelphia Union, Jose. And I don't want to talk about Cavan Sullivan getting subbed off yet, but I thought both players were really, really good, Jose. And I think maybe part of it too is what I noticed, and I don't know if it really came across on the TV, but Cavan, with Nate playing on the left, Nate could stay back, play defense, not have to worry about going up. And now Cavan doesn't really have to worry about dropping back, playing defense. You can keep them isolated. And Cornell actually talked about it, saying that the game plan this week was built around Cavan Sullivan. And it showed. It showed, Jose. And yes, again, it's the B team, the C team, whatever you want to call it for Nashville. But regardless, Cavan Sullivan looked really good, Jose. Back-to-back starts, first time in his career in MLS. Looked better than he did against Columbus. And this is what fans wanted to see, Jose. This is why they've been calling for Cavan Sullivan to start. You see him take players on 1v1. Not afraid to take players on 1v1. Combined well with his teammates on the left side of the field. The only thing missing was a goal. Had the Union's first shot on target on the night. A clever set piece. Cleaver, if you know, you know. Set piece between Milan Alaski and Cavan Sullivan, with Alaski chipping it over the two-man wall, and Cavan, first time shot on the left side of the box inside the penalty area and gets saved. But Cavan looked very, very lively on the night, Jose.
Yeah, he looked very good, man. I don't have anything to really add. You kind of encapsulated it. I think Cavan, if I recall from what game was it? Cornell spoke about, or maybe I'm blending together things, but Cavan defensively maybe wasn't quite there. Some of the games that he has featured and has been substituted has been sort of just that's a piece of his game that needs to improve, apparently. But yesterday he looked confident as all hell. I mean, there was a couple of times where he was doing scissors, fucking up and still getting around players. I think there was one instance where he tried scissors and it got messed up and it still got between two players and the play continued. So that was great. You can tell he's a player that's trying to utilize his body and then some, right? In terms of not being physically there, but he's literally throwing his body against men to try to make himself a little more imposing. And there were a couple of plays there where he's doing that, especially in the finishing third. I don't know how Cornell does not look at this performance and say he needs to start. I don't know how you like. I'd be intrigued to ask him. Maybe if I do show up to practice on Tuesdays, I plan to. Has he done enough to be a starter in terms of these back-to-back performances? And sure, maybe it's a talking point for us, or maybe it's a completely different full-on podcast on something else. But is it too much for the guy to go 3 games in a row, despite only playing 68 minutes last night? More on that soon. How do you keep him out, considering he was your biggest creator? And again, against a very, very rotated Nashville team, he was good to great, I would say.
I agree. And then on the flip side, we see Frankie Westfield go back to the right back spot, natural position for him. And it looks great, Jose, going for it in the attack, combining well, creating chances, playing forward passes, combined well with Milan Alaski, I thought, on that side of the field. Alaski unable to get a goal in this match from some of the passes that Frankie was playing him. Mm-hmm. But I saw the comments on social media. People were saying to me before the game, saying that they believe that the Union are a better team when Frankie plays on the right side of the field. And it kind of showed in this game, Jose. Nothing against Nathan Harriel. I've said it so many times on this podcast. I think he's one of the best 1v1 defenders on this team. Yes, I would like to see him be a little bit more active on the right side of the field in the attack. But look, you take the defensive efforts and then the set piece goals that that Nathan Harriel brings you. But Frankie brings you a little bit something different on the right side of the field. Just he has this fire, this drive, and kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word to use. I want to say he's fearless. I think that's a good way to put it. He's fearless going in the attack on the right side of the field, Jose. If he loses the ball, if he misplays a pass, he's not afraid to mess up. He's still going to go and get forward. I think fearless is probably the right word to use for Frankie Westfield, both defensively and offensively, but you see it on the right side of the field. He doesn't hesitate. When he sees space and opportunity to go forward, he goes forward. And what I love about Frankie Westfield, I don't think they did show this on the Apple podcast at the end. The last chance with the Union, you see Frankie pick up the ball for the throw-in, and he's putting his arms up like this with the crowd saying, hey, get loud, let's get loud, let's get loud. We have one last chance in this game. And a chance does fall to Anello, and unfortunately doesn't go in the back of the net, puts a shot on target. Mm-hmm. But every time Frankie comes and talks to the media, Jose, I keep telling myself that this guy's a future captain. And even though he doesn't have the captain's armband on right now, he's a leader. He's a captain. At 20 years old, you and I bang the drum all the time. He's not long for the Philadelphia Union. This kid's special. And we see it last night against Nashville.
Yeah, dude. I'm trying to think, what else can I say? Because the guy, I was almost said kid, he's 20. Sure, he's very young. I don't understand. Yeah, okay. I don't understand how. I know it's a big jump, but I don't understand how a championship team doesn't look at this guy and says, shit, like maybe we should just take the gamble. You know, like for a lot of these teams, it's a clerical error, right? It's just missing a roundup error on an Excel sheet to buy someone like Frankie Westfield.
Maybe Cavan Sullivan will take him to Manchester City with him.
But like, you know, like last night's performance, I kept on thinking to myself, I don't know who was better, like Cavan or Frankie. And maybe that's pretty telling of the level that Frankie's playing right now. And again, like last disclaimer, last time we'll address it and mention it. Sure, it was the second or third team of Nashville, but the way that he played yesterday and looking at his heat map and looking at his metrics, which obviously don't tell the entire tale, but they certainly supplement if you watch the game and you use your eyes to watch the game. The guy had a fantastic game. Highlight for me was that through ball that I posted online where it was just incredible. And you know, I think Olaski would want that back, and albeit it was a very tight angle, Olaski should be trying to threat that to the other side of the keeper, not trying to beat him near post, which is unfortunately what he tried. Even the Spanish commentator, which name is escaping me, I do want to shout him out because poor guy. And this is the result of the budget cuts at Apple. Diego Pesolano did the entire game by himself in Spanish, all by himself, all 90 plus minutes of the game. Was sort of saying Olaski got that all wrong. That ball was beautiful, and Olaski went on and basically wasted it. When you got commentators saying that out loud, which they're supposed to be pretty neutral, you know that play was pretty impressive, and B, they recognize real. So Frankie, what's his contract through? I think is it 2030?
Ooh, put him on the spot.
I can't recall. Yeah, sorry. MLS roster profiles. Yeah, I mean, whatever his contract's
he'll
through,
be here for a little bit. His contract, at least, I should say. His contract's for a little bit. Doesn't mean that he'll see out that whole contract. And maybe Frankie does sign a new deal to get rewarded for these performances we've seen now the last 2 seasons. Wouldn't be uncommon.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hope so for the guy, right? Like I can't zoom in on this right now, but I don't know why I can't zoom in. Anyways, I could see him getting an extension of some sort. I don't know, like maybe it's a way to secure the player or frankly secure a bag and say, well, we just signed this guy. If you're gonna want him, you got to pay a little bit more than maybe was originally intended. So
Signed through
I
2028, option for 2029.
I knew it was near that 29, 2030 window. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I do know for a fact that teams are watching him. I do know for a fact that
I mean, there was
agents and
interest in him in the transfer window in January.
yeah, scouts are impressed by him and impressed in the play that he's putting together, even in a team that hasn't looked very good in the season. He's certainly the shining, if not one of, I would say one of, if not the shining star of what has been a pretty not great season. Is it fair to call it terrible season? 6 points through 11 games. I maybe, but he's certainly been the highlight, and I think he will be rewarded sooner rather than later. My question for him is how much does he trust himself to take a jump? I can see a world where he is very comfortable and he's enjoying and loves being in Philadelphia, loves being with his family. He probably has an incredible support group, and seeing him in the community, going and supporting his brother at basketball games, seeing him
And he was
going
so
and
laid
doing
back
the different.
too in the locker room
Yeah.
after the game, just talking about Philly sports. Like he did his interview, then afterwards he's talking with Matt DeGeorge just about the different Philly sports teams just being successful right now in the playoffs and everything. Like this guy's just Philly through. So laid back, happy to be born and raised in the city of Philadelphia.
Either he's going to be a Philadelphia Union legend, the way of should everything continue in the path that it is. He's going to have a statue the way Andre Blake's going to get one at some point, or he's going to go on and defy all expectations that anybody ever had for a kid out of Philadelphia or the Philadelphia area that should be in his sophomore or junior year of Penn State soccer. Like it's unbelievable the path that this guy has taken, right? So I don't know. Enjoy him while he's here. I don't know that it. What's that?
It's kind of unheard of.
Yeah, it's obscene, honestly.
The only success out of MLS Next Pro for the Union, I would argue, the one and only player that has transitioned well from MLS Next Pro to the first team level. There you could make the argument for Andrew Rick. Those would be the only two players, in my opinion.
I was going to say Andrew Rick, but unfortunately he left too early. David Vasquez is having great success at San Diego, but obviously that's happening elsewhere. Yeah, it's we'll say it again, and maybe the last time we say it for a little bit, though. I'm guessing his play will make us have to talk about this all over again, which would be a welcome problem. Enjoy him while he's here. I don't. Who knows how long it'll be? It could be that he just, I don't know, poof, he's gone after the international break. A team over in Europe wants a player like him over the summer to start from the get-go of the new season. Lovely. Happy for him. Can't blame him.
All right, Jose, let's go ahead and talk about Cavan Sullivan getting subbed off because this pissed a lot of people off on social media. Also pissed off Cavan Sullivan.
It sure did, dude. You want to play the clip or what do you want to do?
I don't even have the clips lined up to play, but yeah, you said it well on social media, Jose. You don't need a lip reader for what Cavan Sullivan said with the cameras all over him as he was subbed off, just walking down the sideline. I think the Apple TV crewmen, I think they knew what they were doing, just getting a close up on Cavan Sullivan and played his socks off. We highlighted that already, Jose, and you got to fear for the kid. 69 minutes, gets pulled, did nothing wrong, didn't deserve to come off. And you and I had talked this morning on the phone where maybe I see it a little bit differently, where maybe it's Cornell protecting Cavan Sullivan, not punishing him, but protecting him because he is still only 16 years old. And you can give so many examples of wonder kids that just played at such a young age And then the older they got into their careers, just injuries caught up to them. I think Freddie Adu's maybe a good example of that. Marco Royce certainly had injuries throughout later in his career. And yeah, I mean, I know he was still a world-class player and everything, but definitely wasn't the same player. I think Mario Götze is another player that, look, scoring the game-winning goal for Germany in the World Cup in 2014 had the whole world at his feet, and injuries definitely played a factor into how he developed. I know you gave the example of Phil Foden playing at a young age with Manchester City, still continues to play at a high level for Manchester City. I guess Lamine Yamal would be a good example right now of a kid that's young and still continues to play at a high level. I know he's only 18 years old, but he's a guy who's playing week in, week out and doesn't seem to have any issues handling that kind of workload. I know you also made the example, Jose, of all the Red Bull kids that are playing week in, week out, playing a significant amount of minutes. But I can also, like, honestly, Jose, like, I'm sure the data could show you just hundreds and hundreds of kids that started playing soccer at a young age and playing first team minutes at a high level, and eventually their bodies started breaking down on them. And so I wouldn't be surprised if part of that goes into Bradley Cornell's thinking of protecting Cavan Sullivan, because we know that his ceiling isn't Philadelphia. His ceiling's going to Manchester City and seeing what his future looks like in Europe. Does he become a regular player, star player for Manchester City? We'll see. But eventually he will leave Philadelphia to go to England with Manchester City. Will he go on a loan when he's with City? Will he play in the Caribou Cup? Will he play in the FA Cup? Those type of environments. Will he get minutes off the bench in the Premier League now and then with Manchester City? We shall see. But Cavan getting subbed off pissed Cavan off, and it pissed a lot of fans off too after the type of performance that we saw him last night with Nashville.
Yes. yes. I mean, holy smokes. I genuinely debated about posting that clip, and I just want to be very clear with everyone listening and or watching. My intention was never to get the kid in trouble or to get any player in trouble. My intention with that clip is to highlight that, or was to highlight, this is a guy who played a great game at 16 against a very, very top of the East team. And again, who they were, rotated, but had a really good game. Cornell spoke after the game. I'm not sure if that's one of the clips that you have lined up or not. Spoke after the game on the reason for his departure. But he was very clear and not pleased about the decision 68 minutes in, because I'm sure, as you mentioned, he's seeing, as I mentioned to you on the phone today, he's seeing Adri Mehmeti out at Red Bulls playing 90 minutes. He's seeing Julian Hall playing 83 minutes. What did Gazzo do yesterday? Xavier Gazzo for Colorado. How many minutes did he play yesterday? And he's scoring left and right too. Let's make no mistake of that. Where are you, brother? Looks like, did he come off the bench? Where is he? Or does he have a different name on FotMob? Can't find him.
Xavier
he's Salt Lake.
Gazzo. Yeah,
he's Salt Lake. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to correct you, but I was like, I'll let it slide. Yeah, Salt Lake fans would kill you, Jose, comparing them to their rivals, Colorado Rapids.
They sure would. I think the color stripped me up. Diego Luna.
He played
76 minutes.
Yeah.
So, he's probably seeing the success that these guys are having and seeing that they're scoring, seeing even someone like Xavier getting shouts from the media of Pochettino, make the call, bring him in, have him be the young guy that goes along to the World Cup, and that's fine. I don't know, like, I can understand that the kid's ambitious and wants to do well. I think he is, in watching him, I think he's probably ready to play even beyond some of those youth levels that he's playing at. Because I don't know, how often have we heard of him going for a U.S. national team camp with U17 or whatever. And yeah, he's playing a year above or 2 years above, but he's scoring hat tricks or he's scoring braces. It's quite obvious that he's ready to play something else. So I don't know. I see it in that angle, and I totally understand his frustration. I think it's good that he's frustrated. He wants to play. He wants to be the guy. He has all of these expectations, some of it manufactured by him and himself only, right? Like it's not, I don't know. I'm guessing it's added pressure when you go and you're the spokesperson selling jeans at the age of 16 for Aeropostale, or you're slinging chicken at, Raising Cane's with your brother. Like I can probably guess that adds some pressure on the shoulders of a kid that young, and that those are choices. Let's make no mistake. It's not like he was thrown into those situations. He chose to be in those situations, or whoever manages him chose to put him in that situation. And sure, get your bag. I'm never going to fault the kid, but I'm sure there's some sense of that from him and those around him that, he should be doing more than he is right now. And I think the ultimate point that I want to bring is, who knows? I don't know the answer. I don't think you know the answer, but like, are there minutes restrictions on the kid? I don't know.
John said no to the Inquirer. Said that he's a union player.
So, yeah. So who knows, man? I don't know. And I don't know if that's a PR line. I don't know if for what it's worth, I have no idea. So it's an interesting situation, and we'll see how it develops. Because obviously, if you have something between your shoulders and in between your ears, you can sort of piece together why this is maybe a conversation that shows up at CBS Sports Golazo, where, Cavan Sullivan not happy, and then it shows up into the Athletic article, and then it becomes the talking point of the week, and it's way blown out of proportion, where then they have to send, or he chooses, Jonathan Tannenwald to a practice to go talk to John Scheer to then get a whole article off of 10 seconds of a conversation. Like, it's part of the sport. I get it. It's part of the hype cycle. I also acknowledge that, but I think the kid just wants to ball and wants to play as much as he can. And it seems like maybe that's not happening. Though I'm intrigued on your thoughts, Todd, of, all the calls that, Manchester City should loan him out somewhere, should loan him out to one of the many, many clubs that are part of that group. I don't know if you thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think once eventually he does get to City, he will get loaned out. I could see City have a club in Belgium. I can see that potentially being the case. I think he has the footwork, the confidence to take players on 1v1 that we see players, it seems like, all the time in La Liga. How many minutes would he play in La Liga? I don't know.
With Girona.
Yeah. Belgium might be the biggest, I think, most likely opportunity. Doesn't City also own a team in Brazil?
I can't recall. I
Might be Red Bull.
Sure. Are they used to? Wasn't it Bahia or one of the two?
Yeah, did they? I mean, I know they got rid of a couple teams, so they might not have that team in Brazil anymore. But I'll look. You're the City fan. I'll defer to you. But regardless, yeah, I would be shocked, honestly, once Cavan gets to City, that he would start playing for Manchester City. Do they play him in their reserve team when he gets there? I would also be shocked by that. I think the biggest outcome is he'll get loaned out to another City partnership group. How wild would this be, though? Gets a Man City, and then they loan him to New York City. It would be so crazy. Loan him back to MLS and plays starting minutes with NYC. Union fans would absolutely lose it. But
someone said Australia. That's an interesting shout. I don't know that that's the league for him. I would think that he's above Australia. Bahia was indeed the club I was thinking about. That City group.
Do they still own them?
Pretty sure. They have a webpage or a partnership. I think it might be the way that they have a strategic partnership with Bolivian club Bolívar. I think that's how it works with Bahia. I could be wrong, but nonetheless, man, I think this is a kid that wants to play. This is a guy, I should say, that wants to play. Actually, I think I can use kid because he is indeed that young. This is a kid who wants to play, wants to do well, and wants to show why he is destined for what he's destined, and you can't really blame him. And I saw the comment, I think from Jillian, of it's a 16-year-old doing teenager things. I think that would be valid if he wasn't slinging jeans and slinging Raising Canes, where he's tossed into situations where he is having to make decisions of an adult. So I do think that he probably should try to bottle that up as best as he can. I'll never be in the situation to be able to make that type of choice. And so take it for what it's worth. But you probably, I wonder, I don't know. I haven't looked in a little bit.
Ooh, I forgot that City had a team in France. You sent them to France?
Which one is it?
Troyes? Polish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Joined in 2022.
Yeah.
2020, sorry.
No, you're okay. I would go ahead and guess that, yeah, but the union are probably not happy that, or thrilled that the Apple TV's camera caught him cursing the way he was. But B, that, I can't imagine I'm the only person to have posted that but for what it's worth, my dumb account, it's got over 1,000 likes and over 217,000 views on a clip that's 12 seconds long with this kid obviously not happy. And even the commentator for Apple TV saying that he is certainly not happy with the substitution. So, my apologies, I suppose. Philadelphia Union PR, was not my intention to put him in a spotlight like that, but probably should be a little smarter than that. I mean, you remember his debut, the amount of cameras that were around him and around that.
He brought extra cameras that day.
So I don't know. I think, that he should know a little bit better. And I get he's 16, but should know better.
Let's go ahead and hear from Bradley Cornell. 21-second clip of him explaining why he took Cavan off.
Yeah, I think it's 15 months now, or I don't know how long I've been here. The front four, they invest so much for us, and there were a couple of plays at the end there where, they bring on Nahar, especially down that side. That's why we had to get Augie on, just from a physicality point of view, just to do the recoveries as well. So, definitely not performance related because he did really well.
Yeah, and there was a comment, I was trying to find it here. I want to give credit to it, but they had mentioned that Indiana Vasilev also came off both attacking mids, and yeah, I mean, you heard from Cornell. I mean, the two players, Indiana Vasilev and Sullivan, gave everything, and so yeah, I'm sure a lot went into it. Definitely wasn't performance, and I think we've talked enough about this moment, Jose, and we can go ahead and start to wrap the show up with something that we talked about, I think, probably 40 minutes ago, but has there been enough positive signs for you, Jose, to see these last 5 games? They haven't lost in 4 of the last 5 games, a 1-1-3 record. Yes, 3 draws. Maybe a little bit unfortunate not to get the win against Toronto. Maybe unfortunate not to get a win against DC United. Columbus, bad game. Could the Union be better than what they are? Yes. I started the show, and I think it's no secret with how I sound it, how I come off as a positive person. I think there's been enough positivity in a 5-game block that we've seen with this team the last 5 games. Now, can you start to put the ball in the back of the net? Can you turn those draws into wins? They only have 4 games until the Club World Cup break. I mean, the World Cup break. But I'm positive with what I'm seeing. Yes, it's not wins. Yes, it's not complete soccer. But you're seeing strides, Jose, week by week, I feel like. And I started off playing that comment from Bradley Cornell talking about, mentality. And so I asked Frankie Westfield after the game, okay, Bradley Cornell mentioned that he believes the mentality of the group's changed. I said, what exactly, Frankie, in your opinion, has changed mentally with this team? And this is what Frankie Westfield had to say, what's changed in this group.
There was one important week of training that we had, and I think that helped us out a lot, with mentality, like you just said. We had a very, very long talk and long meeting as a team, and that helped us out a lot. I think guys are willing to run now. Guys are willing to do the extra mile and the extra work just to see the team win. And I think as a collective, we're all in. We're all in now, and struggling the first 6 games of the season, and now you look at it, we're heading in positive directions, and we're going up rather than back down. So I think just a matter of time. Goals are going to come. Wins are going to start coming. We've got to keep clicking and keep it together. So.
I said it, dude. This dude's a captain. 20 years old, doesn't wear the armband, but he speaks like a leader. He speaks so much older than what he actually is. And I believe Frankie, Jose, that this team's on the up. I believe his words. And I'm sure Sexy Hoagie jokes here says Carnell in. But it's telling to me that Frankie says that, look, guys are willing to do the extra running now. Guys are bought in. Is that concerning? Maybe were the players not bought in to the system, the style of play that Carnell wanted to play at the beginning of the season? That, Carnell was serious that we got to run our socks off? Like, this is how we're going to play. He's not going to get away from playing this style of soccer, even though we're not winning. I guess we got to buy into this style. And it's tough, right? When you have to replace 4 veterans in Uwe Baribo, Glesnes, and Wagner, where they were bought into the system. But it's changed, and maybe the results aren't totally there, Jose. But you do start to see it, right? Alade's a perfect example. I thought he was, doesn't score last night, but he worked his socks off defensively. Socks off defensively. And somebody was like, man, it's a bad thing when the record signings highlights are making defensive plays. But this is something that is needed. This is something that's expected from Carnell. Playing in this team, you have to work defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying Alado was one of those players that wasn't bought in, but it's changed with him the last couple of appearances, with him working his socks off defensively, helping win the ball back. And so maybe if the team is bought in with how Carnell wants to play, that he's not getting away from the style of play, maybe the results start to fall their way here in the next couple of weeks.
Obviously they're showing good signs of flipping things around, especially this match, right? But what I would ask of you, and I would ask of people listening, is with the next 4 matches, not having to travel to the West Coast or too far away. I think it's the furthest that they really have to travel west is to they come to the Union. So this is really just up and down I-95. They go to New England, they go to Orlando, Columbus comes into town, then they go to Miami.
Yep.
I have that right.
Yep.
How many points out of 12 do you see the Union taking?
I feel like New England can be a toss-up. Orlando had that comeback win against Miami. It's going to be extremely humid down there. I could see that being a loss. Columbus, I think, they beat the Union 2-0. I think there was mistakes in that game by the Union where, the first goal was certainly the Union let themselves down. You had an own goal for the second one. I was planning on saying it in the podcast if I could have went that, mistakes in that game were correctable. I could see you getting 3 points against them. And again, you're going down to Florida against Miami. It's going to be super hot, super humid. Union haven't done bad against Miami since Carnell's been the head coach. Miami can't get a win yet in the new stadium.
I was going to say,
but they still have Messi, so you can never count them out. How many points do I realistically see?
And is whatever this amount of points
4 points
to you, is that considered a turnaround? I guess sort of, right? Because that's over half of what they already have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's for me to consider this a turnaround. And Carnell, if I remember correctly from the press conference yesterday, is separating the season on the first round pre-World Cup and second round post-World Cup. I think that's exactly how I'm paraphrasing, but I feel like that's the mark that he delineated in the press conference, which was a very interesting thing for him to say out loud. The same way Curtin used to tell us that he would plan games or plan into blocks of 5 matches, I think, right? 9 points, and I see this as a turnaround. Anything less than that, it's kind of the same, right? Especially against some of these teams. I think New England's a really interesting team because of Mitrovic and everything he did for U.S. soccer and the way that he's flipped this roster, making into basically a U20 squad, which it's incredible. I think, and Marco Zambrano of all people going to New England.
Crazy.
I don't know if going to be healthy, actually. I think he might be out for a while. Orlando, I don't know if they'll be riding a high considering what they just did against Miami. And if they win this coming weekend, I'm not really quite sure who they play. But if they get 2 wins on the bounce after that, a win, 2 on the bounce after that
Montreal
Miami
away.
They have Montreal. I don't know, man. that could be a nice stretch that they just collected 6 points that they had no business winning, considering they were down 3-0 to Miami at Miami. Columbus
in the last 4 for Orlando.
Yeah. Columbus is Columbus. It's always tough. Columbus snuck away with a point last year, if I recall correctly, when they came into town, right? That was when that 90-plus minute header, or close to the 90th minute header to tie the game, happened. Inter Miami's Inter Miami, man. You just don't know who you're going to get and what you're going to get, especially at this new place at their stadium in Florida. So I think to consider a turnout at 9 points would be great, but where those 9 points come from, I'm having a hard time seeing how 9 points come out of this stretch. New England maybe is 3. Orlando could be 3. Columbus and Miami, I'm seeing 1 as a draw and maybe 1 as a loss. So I don't know. I hope, obviously we hope that they do well. But I have a hard time seeing how they sneak away with more than 6 points out of this 4-match stretch. But that would be great if they did. I think it'll be awesome. The players need that. Coaching need it. Everybody that works so hard behind the scenes needs it. So I sure hope that they put up a good fight, even if they lose.
Yeah, I was going to play another clip, but we're an hour 30 into the podcast, so we're not going to play something else. I didn't realize I had so many clips lined up. I mean, I skipped one already. We're skipped 2, but look, this is what happens when Jose and I haven't been together on a show in 2 episodes. So a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. And speaking of discussing, I have no clue what we're going to do about the New England review episode. I mean, I'm committed to doing the show at 9 on Sunday. I don't know if you'll be around, but I'll definitely be on vacation. I'll just have to find either a place in the room or maybe around the resort, go outside, depending on how loud it is or how the internet connection is. But yeah, I'm willing to do a show. Definitely won't give a midweek show on a Thursday for the Orlando game. If you or somebody else wants to do it, that's totally fine by me. But yeah, I
have
could be
an
down
idea
to do another Disney show. Just like who was it? Was it no, I think it was just you and I, because you had interviewed Danny Cruz that week. I had got back to the hotel room to edit the show and then get it posted to YouTube. And then we did a game. We were talking about preseason. That's right. About the Union's preseason games and how, the Union are making moves. And these are great signings, which I think they could eventually turn out to be great signings. Hasn't really clicked yet, but wow. Totally different times 5 months ago compared to what it is now. But all that to say, I'll go and do the show with you on Sunday, Jose.
I'm here. I'm good for it. I'm genuinely curious about this New England game because I think New England is one of those sneaky teams. I don't know. I'm considering New England basically a San Diego lookalike wannabe type of thing in the way that they're going about bringing super young former U.S. youth internationals in to slap together a good team with, sprinkling of internationals and tried and true veterans. So should be a fun game. Turf is not an excuse anymore, so we'll see.
Yeah, that is true. They do have grass. They do have grass now. Though I hear it's a little bit thicker grass, a little bit higher grass than some normal grass fields around the league. So I wonder if that plays.
What are you, Arsenal suddenly measuring grass and complaining about it?
No, I'm just going off of what the commentator said last night in the New England game. But Jose, anything that you want to go ahead and plug?
I think what I want to plug is, and I know it was honestly a lot of work. I'm very proud of it. I know that the metrics are not showing a lot of success with it, but I'm extremely proud of it. The Jovan Lukić interview, if you haven't listened to it or seen it, I should say, mainly for our English speaking, non-Spanish speaking or understanding folks that follow the podcast, listen to the podcast, there is a version on video on YouTube that has the entire thing, all 42 minutes, hand typed by yours truly, captions for you to enjoy. So if you get the opportunity and want to hear about Jovan Lukić, a player that played all of 2 matches plus whatever 30 minutes of a preseason match against the Champions League club, please give it a listen. He was incredibly open and transparent and vulnerable about his time in Philadelphia and how much he enjoyed it. That it would mean the world to me if you listen to it. Trying to give the guy a chance. There's a QR code on the screen for those watching on YouTube and listening on the podcast, but it should be on your RSS feed if you're a Spanish speaker. But again, on YouTube with captions for you to follow along. So give it a listen. And I wrote, and I strongly suggest that if you didn't watch this game, watch it, because I think this is really telling of what the playoffs are going to be this year. I wrote for MLS last night about the Cincinnati and Chicago game. Fantastic game. And if this is what the playoffs are going to be this year, let alone if they go into a best-of-3 series between those two, it's going to be a fantastic time. Really, really good game and worthwhile to watch. I mean, the last 5 minutes included a penalty call, a penalty save to then go to the other end and Cincinnati draw a penalty, and then Evander score his first ever hat trick, which is an unbelievable metric for a player of his caliber to only have just scored his first ever hat trick, not first ever MLS hat trick, first ever in his career. So give that a listen, or I should say, give that a watch. That's a good game replay for you to put on the background if you're working and have the opportunity to do so.
For sure. And if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast of The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod, live every single podcast. Goals breakdown video will be out tomorrow, even though there was no goal scored. Well, assuming that I'm able to post that video on YouTube, might just be Substack only, but yeah, we'll give it a go and try to get it posted on YouTube, since I couldn't post the Columbus game. No, not Columbus. Toronto, maybe. I don't know. There was one of these games I couldn't post. It just would not allow me. So it was only on Substack, but. Yes, goals breakdown video will be out on Monday at some point. Do you plan on writing an article, I guess kind of highlighting some of the stuff that we talked about on the show tonight? Try to spin things in a positive manner, because things have been a little bit bleak. And again, you guys hear the positivity in my voice listening to this, whether live or on their RSS feed. So I'll keep that coming in your inboxes. And then if you guys want to go ahead and check out my writing, goals breakdown videos, or podcasts all in one place, thefreekick.substack.com. And yeah, Jose and I will be back with a episode on Sunday. I don't know, Jose and I haven't discussed about trying to do a preview episode for New England. If you guys get an episode midweek, great. If not, then you'll see a Sunday. Because Jose and I, we love doing episodes, just traveling. Never in the same location where, we actually have our proper setup. We always like being on the road doing the show for whatever reason. So, yeah, maybe 1-2 podcasts coming your way. But Thank you guys for staying with us for an hour 34, hour 35 minutes. Long episode, I know. But it's been a minute, so you guys knew it was coming. So with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.